Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about GoPro. For some reason, this seems to be a really popular one I've seen people discussing online, and I wasn't sure what I was missing. This was a weird one for me. I know what a GoPro is. I'm sure all or most of you watching this do as well. It's a waterproof camera, mounts onto your helmet, bike, hand, etc. They're cool. Lots of people that live a really active lifestyle have them. Once you buy one, you probably don't upgrade it on a regular interval. It's not like an iPhone. Unless you're an avid outdoor enthusiast who needs the highest quality camera with the latest features, you probably buy one and use it once or twice a year when you go ski, snowboard, hike, play a sport, something like that. The first thing that really stuck out to me when I started looking into GoPro was on their cash flow statement. Their stock-based compensation seems a bit out of whack to me. For 2023, this amount was $41 million. It's a real cost for investors in my opinion, even though it is added back. But now as a percentage of operating expenses, it came into around 10%. This seems high to me, so I did a quick comparison to some Fortune 500 companies not a part of FANG. We see that Pfizer has about $525 million in stock comp on $26 billion of operating expenses, so about 2%. Intel, the other end of the spectrum, had $3 billion in stock comp with $22 billion in operating expenses, so about 13%. Verizon, $600 million in stock comp with $32 billion in expenses, so about 2%. So there is a range. The 13% at Intel may be justified as you're competing for engineers that could leave for a FANG, so you do need to pay pretty well to retain talent. I would argue GoPro does not need to be at the high end of the compensation spectrum and should be closer to the Verizon, Pfizer levels. They're not exactly competing for top talent to develop future cameras. Anyways, after looking at their financials, I started to pull together a DCF to model their revenue. I based it on cameras shipped, average selling price per camera, camera sell-through rate, subscriber growth, and subscription revenue per user. I'll walk through this now. For camera units shipped, they provide these numbers, and it's consistently hovered around 2.8 million to 3.2 million over the last 4 years. They mentioned they are starting to penetrate overseas much more than stateside, and that outside the US makes up something around 66% of their sales. Not being super optimistic on the outlook of waterproof cameras, I have units shipped slowly decreasing from 2.9 million in 2023 down to 2.4 million in 2033. I truly believe this is a niche product that once you purchase, you're probably not going to upgrade it in the future. The next thing to discuss here is the average selling price per camera. This is also provided, and it's trended up from 316 unit all the way to 389 in 2022, before dropping back down to 337 in 2023. With a large portion of sales being outside the US, I do believe there will be downward pressure on this number. I have the average price per unit decreasing over the next decade until it levels off around $300 per unit. Now, if they were to sell every unit they ship with no returns or issues, revenues would go from $950 million in 2024 to $720 million in 2023 based off these assumptions. However, I noticed that the math doesn't math for their historicals, and they're not capturing 100% of the revenue for cameras shipped. I call this sell-through percentage. I've calculated their sell-through percentage for historicals, and it's around low to mid 90%. My guess is the delta is related to returns, lost, stolen, damaged cameras, so I've assumed 93% sell-through going forward to calculate actual revenues. I get them going from $900 million in 2023 to $670 million in 2033, just for their camera line. The next piece to talk about is the subscription revenue. This is a part of the business everyone online claims that will reinvent GoPro and make them profitable. I don't fully buy it. Anyways, they've gone from 800,000 subscribers in 2020 to 2.5 million subscribers in 2023. The growth has drastically slowed from 145% early on to only 9% in the most recent years. I've modeled subscribers growing about 100,000 users annually to trail off around 3.5 million subscribers in 2033. The second part of subscription revenue is the revenue per user. It's currently at around $39 per user. Quick search on their website shows you actually get a free year when you purchase a new device, and a 1-year subscription costs around $100. So based off this, only about 40% of subscribers are actually paying. I have this growing to about 50% by 2033. This brings subscription revenue from $100 million in 2023 to $165 million in 2033. So overall, revenues in my model are still decreasing from the drop in camera sales and going from around $1 billion to $830 million as we approach 2033. Now, I have two scenarios to cover. The first one, I'll call it leadership milking. This is leadership milking all cash from the company and keeping it from being profitable. In this situation, SG&A stays nice and high with the high stock-based compensation. I do have R&D slowly coming down, as if you're going to milk a company, you can't spend all the money trying to improve it. CapEx is also abysmal, so no future-looking investments. In this scenario, I still managed to get a valuation between $215 million and $426 million, with the value currently sitting at $231 million. They're probably fairly valued if you think management will not start cutting costs and trying to turn this company around. So now on to my next scenario, which we'll call the turnaround. I've left all my revenue assumptions the same, but I've increased R&D spend to signal future looking success. However, I've reduced SG&A expense going from 23% of revenues down to 12% of revenues. This may seem aggressive, but if they cut all 40 million of stock-based compensation, they'd already drop down closer to 18%. So it's really not that aggressive if they tighten the belt. In this scenario, I actually get a valuation of 366 to 788 million, which would show that GoPro is significantly undervalued. I won't be entering a position in GoPro. I think it's a niche product with a very long refresh cycle. However, if there were to be a leadership shakeup and the price didn't immediately respond, I would actually strongly consider entering. They have the ability to be a cash cow and generate a nice cash flow, but costs are currently way out of whack for a company losing money, in my opinion. The founder is still CEO, so I doubt there will be any significant cost cuts in the imminent future, as he's managed to get the company into this position. I don't see him getting them out of it. So there it is, it's a NoPro for me. I think you could make an argument of why it's a solid value play, they can cut costs, but I don't think they're quite there yet. So anyways, as always, thanks for watching. Leave any questions or comments below, and thanks.